Hey everybody. Oh my god, that's Bryce back. Let's see. Okay. I guess I forget, whatever, I don't know. I always have to fuck with the lighting and the camera because it's just me. If I put like something against it. Like that. And then I'm a little late, fashionably so. Apologize. Life with two kids. One who's with me all the time still. I mean, sometimes they take forever to go to bed. That's all I can say. You could, have a great time, great help, and then that happens. So, forgive me. However, I should be on for maybe like an hour and a half, which I think is still pretty good. And next time my strategy will be that, I'll leave no mental zone out time, just kind of jump on if I have to right away, rather than I'll be like an hour, well, like half hour late, So, hey, what's going on? How are you doing tonight? I'm new to TikTok. I don't know if anybody, saw that. I know there's a lot of controversy with it, but I'm just trying to reach people I might not otherwise, just kind of due to the popularity. But other than that, that is about it. I got some Nag Champa incense going, so that's got to be probably one of everybody's favorites, right? Chill. Yeah, I always kind of end up turning this into a stoner night, but I'm not doing rituals, and I'm not really needing to have more of a clearer focus, I would say. So why not? Fucking got a jar of White Widow. It's really good. So good times. Yeah, I didn't really relax too much. Just put some stuff away, jumped on, and that's about it. Yeah, and let me know if you can hear me and all that good stuff. Just sitting on the floor because probably easier to see me, I guess. Hi. Bringing all my stuff, I guess, over here. So I've got a PD light, actually. Oh, I don't drink those every day, but especially, yeah, as the weather warms up, if it's really important to stay hydrated. Like nobody wants to hear that speech again, but it is. So it's a lot better for you than Gatorade. I mean, I don't really think that kind of stuff makes me feel too much better. I used to drink that a lot back in the day when I worked as a lifeguard. But I mean, you need the electrolytes in that kind of a situation. So just give a boost. It's kind of a nice treat. Tastes great. Eyes wide shut. Okay, that is something I did space out about, but I figured out that I will take notes as soon as I get off here. Not that like I usually have to, because I really would like to look into whatever film you're recommending. So if next month I'll be ready to give you a review. How about that? Because I'll have a little bit more time for movies because everybody's gonna be home a lot more. So as long as I write it down on my little internet notepad before I go, I'll be able to check it out. So apologize. But yeah, I have to. I mean, I'm not really big into TV in general, but when everybody else is home, maybe more so. I always have a night to pick where I get to pick what we watch, and it doesn't matter if it's really doesn't matter what it is. That's why one takes turns picking. husband likes a lot of the Marvel movies. Well, we like a lot of shows in common. Sometimes like X-Files. How many seasons of that is there? I think I remember at least 15. Um, I haven't watched the like where they revamped it, and it must have been a few years at this point. But so I didn't watch that. But the whole run of the original, show we watched together. We watched like a show called Grimm. Yeah, we watched the new Reacher, Jack Reacher. It's a TV series, not the movie with Tom Cruise. So it's okay. It's like what you fall asleep to. So sometimes we'll do that if we don't really either one of us care. It's something to turn on, in the background. Good times. Yeah, if you want to send me an email, then I definitely, won't forget what you're talking about here after I go about my life. So, that would be great. I'm sure my husband knows how to do like everything technology. I'm gonna find my fucking lighter. So that would be cool. I'll pick it for a movie night and, have some snacks, the whole experience. He's got to be studying a lot, so at night just gotta relax a little bit, and if there's not video games going on, that's what we'll do. But I do like video games a little bit, a lot of retro ones, really simple. So what was the last one I played? Oh, I've been playing Plants vs. Zombies. Now I think the original game is like from the mid 2000s, could be somewhere like that. That's a lot of fun. Very simple. Plants, shoot weapons and stuff at zombies, or defeat them in some way, block them, and that's like it. Except as the game goes on, you can buy cooler, weapons and whatnot. That's really cool. That's like a smart person, hobby. We think of a list of things like that. I really am terrible at understanding directions. Oh, you made it straight laced. Oh my gosh, we've been talking about you making it forever, right? So welcome. And yeah, so Monopoly, okay, regular ass Monopoly. Starting off when I was like a teenager, people would, we'd sit around and people would say, let's play Monopoly. People would explain the instructions to me. I still don't fucking understand. Like maybe, I guess if there is like, such a thing as Asperger's, then that would be me pretty bad, because like I will just be, you could explain that to me and I won't understand. I don't know if it's like, I'm more of a different kind of like a hands-on learner or a visual, because it's kind of hard to really tell how we all are, but it has to be pretty simple. There's exceptions of games, but when my friends come over, my husband's friends, and they need another person to play a board game, somebody has to babysit me and explain that to me. So just to get us through the night. And I've tried, okay, maybe I, not smoke pot and see if it doesn't make a difference, at least like that. I either am going to understand it or not. So it's kind of funny, but just a little eccentric trivia about me, I guess. But fucking, I like Clue. Probably because I like a lot of Agatha Christie. So I think she has like, I believe it's 83 works or something like that, including plays. But you can read them as the actual novels, and I've read all those at least once. So I, starting as a teenager. So that whole old school kind of vibe. One of her coolest books, I suppose briefly, is that it used to be called a different name, but now the name of it is And Then There Were None. Agatha Christie, And Then There Were None. She I think basically on all of her novels it says Queen of Mystery. She's really a genius. So it's called And Then There Were None. But back in the 1930s or something, when she had it published, I think it was called 10 Little Indians. It was either that or another racial slur. But that's, I mean, it was the 1930s. But the point of the novel is not racism at all. There's an old school nursery rhyme called that. But it's like, it starts off with 10 to count backwards. And so it's like 10 little Indians doing, something happens to one of them, then there's 9. So then the song goes like 9 little Indians, whatever they're doing. And then 8, and then you count all the way down till there's none left. So it's an old school song like that, 10. So her version is like these people who are they've all done something pretty wrong in their lives, and they get letters saying, oh, you're invited by some, whatever this guy thinks would play to their fancy, like, by a famous politician or a royal third cousin to come out to this island, have a free cruise or a week away and whatever, full of booze or whatever the interest of that person, because he stalked them ahead of time, the perpetrator. So they all go out. So there's 10 of them, though. And so they go out to this fucking island. And it's just like the song, right away. They start having a party. They have all this food, and it's just gorgeous. So like the next day, though, one guy, he's like standing there, having a cocktail. He like drinks too much, kind of an obnoxious guy. And he just, drops dead. And everybody's like, well, fuck. There was a doctor. One of the people's a doctor. He's like, well, people do drop dead of a heart attack. It happens. So they put him out in like some shed or something. And then, they all go on with their lives. Because at this point, no one thinks anything fucked up is going on. And then, but, as the story continues, it's like more shit happens to the next person. So I think, there was a couple. And one of them, was like they separated for some reason. So they found the one woman like stabbed to death in bed. So now everybody starts slowly panicking. And then they're like, well, maybe there's just one crazy person. But then, as each of them go off, like, when there's only like 3 or 4 people left, they're all like sleeping in the same room. And, they've hidden all their valuables. They're all losing their fucking minds because somebody clearly is killing these people. And then they don't, it turns out there's no fucking way off the island. And all that stuff. And then at the very end, we find out the perpetrator was a judge who was one of them, one of the 10. And his idea, he had some like traumatic shit happen to him, but his idea, he knew he was dying. So he was like, oh, I'm going to kill off 9 people that got away, people who think they're above the law. So he was a judge, and he hated when people like, tried to, who got away with stuff like they were above the law. So he brings the law to them, and then he like takes himself out. But he leaves a full blown 5-page like confession, which you actually get to read, post kind of prologue part of the novel. And that's a classic though. Because there's a lot of movies that are based off that idea, and a subsequent, how many spins has that idea had on it? So, but she really brought that, into the modern world like that. So anyway, that was a long fucking story, but ask questions. If you like mystery, Agatha Christie is definitely, you don't even have to know anything about old-fashioned crime. Just, just if you enjoy that, it's probably something you'd like. Anyway, so yeah, somebody fucking ask me a question. We'll talk about stuff. Okay. So what, if you read Agatha Christie, it's kind of hard to think of like a favorite book off the top of one's head, but if there's something that comes to your mind, you know, I'm sure at some point I've read it. So just um, oh, Wicker Man. Oh my gosh! Actually, that movie is like I'm borderline obsessed with a film called Wicker Man. I believe it. You're referring to the '70s movie with Christopher Lee. If you don't know Christopher Lee, he was like, you know, denied the occult at the end of his life. Very prolific actor, and he did voice narrations of a lot of horror stories. But he was very fascinated with the occult. If you type in Christopher Lee tarot, you'll find a like hour documentary that he talks about, and it's about the Rider Waite deck and the history. I mean, it's fantastic. You have to see that. But a Wicker Man, that's great. So it's like pagans and this guy who's like Christian coming in to judge them, and he, you know, it kind of makes him out to be this asshole who's just judging these pagans for liking to be naked, but he thinks they're going to sacrifice him. They end up doing that. So right when he, you know, as he's kind of thinking that he was being too harsh, that pagans who sacrifice people don't exist anymore, whatever, they do. So they put him inside of you know, the wicker, the effigy burning kind of thing, and you know, fucking he's, I think him and some livestock or whatever. But you know, even if I describe the movie, I suppose you guys call that spoiler. Sorry, but you know, you it's just not gonna spoil that at all because it's such an in-depth idea. But yeah, you know, so that's but I guess the best part about that film is just the way it really portrays paganism. Like, if you know, if you look at whatever the practices and stuff, and it's actually filmed in actual Scotland. So I think, I mean, it's just beautiful, really beautiful. I don't know if they've remastered it. Um, yeah, so yeah, with Agatha Christie, I like Perrow and Miss Marple. You know, yeah, gosh, I love all her stuff. I like the little short stories she'll have. They're like 10, 15 pages. I don't know. That's kind of a lot of fun. So they'll group those in like a book of like 12 of them. So it's like the size of a chapter. But yeah, sometimes it's who you would least expect, you know, classically, or there's just this, with Perrow, he'll come in and he'll, you know, see this trail of clues as evidence that, you know, everybody else overlooks or misses, kind of like a classic detective. And then he'll, you know, he'll be like, oh, you know, I see it now. He put all these 10 different things together, you know, so it's like, of course, only the detective knows at the end. But hey, that's how a good one goes. I like Sherlock Holmes. Oh, Evil Under the Sun. Now, that's the one where this, I believe so, okay? You correct me. Agatha Christie story called Evil Under the Sun. I actually think I had that one but it's like in a giant ass book from the 70s. They would, you know, they would make it big. And it because it was on the cover. So I remember it was like a woman sunbathing. And I think it's like this woman who they find her maybe drowned or strangled on a beach, and they're trying to figure out who did it because it turns out she was married to this rich older guy who was like basically a grandpa to her. So they think that her young lover did it and stuff. And I don't really remember exactly how that one turned out, but I know that was kind of the gist of that story, right? Evil Under the Sun, because it was like, you know, she's sunbathing and somebody murders her. So, you know, thus the title, Evil Under the Sun. So, yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, you know, I'm trying to think of other ones, but, you know, just some classic stuff like that. Oh yeah, okay, yeah, right. And I have read it, but right, I didn't quite remember how the ending turned out. I don't remember if the you know, the, whatever, the In Shape guy she was with was the one who did it, or if it was some other kind, clever ending like that. But yeah, absolutely. I love all that stuff. Still reading I'm reading the last few of the Douglas Preston Lincoln Child novels. I like Dean Koontz. I mean, I've read they have an extensive list. Lead detective practices, occult stuff. They also touch on a lot of technology topics, archaeology, because one of the guys is an archaeologist. So yeah, that's a lot of fun. Well, I'm supposed to be making a book list actually too, for just a regular video. It's really soon. I made my YouTube recommended YouTubers list, but I haven't published it yet because I get busy. Suspiria. No, it's not something I've ever heard of. So, actually, so as far as TV goes, though, I have seen the first 3 seasons of Stranger Things, but I haven't seen the 4th with my husband. We're waiting to do that till next month when he'll have a little time off school, like 6 weeks or some shit like that, and we're gonna watch season 4. But Suspiria, I haven't heard of it. Okay, I mean, I love old movies. I even like the, B-rated, campy, just old school horror movies like that. Sometimes it's just a lot of fun. So that sounds like something I would like to check out, especially if they're well done. I mean, campy movies are going to be silly and whatever, but if it's nothing but silly, like so over the top, then it's kind of not appealing. But I don't mind that a moderate level of cheesiness. I think it's just got to have a little bit of a plot, something like that. Yeah, Night of the Demons. That's a good '80s one because it's over the top. Because it's like these damn kids are messing with the occult again, and look, kids are just out at night drinking and smoking and fucking and doing the occult, and then now they're summoning demons, but it's really goofy at the same time because it's like it's just the right amount, I'd say. Okay, yeah, I mean, I don't mind subtitles. I probably watch I'm one of those people who I watch subtitles anyway when I am basically watching TV, probably because it sound like it's like probably fucking, at least for me, you're chewing and then it's kind of hard to hear like the TV or whatever. So for me, it's a little easier, maybe because I have pretty decent eyesight, whatever. So I don't really mind that. I turn that on anyway for English stuff. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Hey, you guys have some, great suggestions. And yeah, if you email me, then I definitely won't forget. Yeah, I don't know. If Stranger Things is good. My favorite was the first season. I just like how old school it really was. I like it more for the way it looks rather than the plot. That's just me. So yeah. So yeah, I fucking I'll cook in a little while, like an hour. Making cauliflower steaks with these Parmesan noodles. Sounds healthy, more like it's just quick. So it's like the pastaroni boxes, and then you make that kind of like a double serving around here, basically. And you get like those heads of cauliflower, kind of cut them like into this thickness of a steak. You get like a batch of olive oil. It's like you have to use a lot, but if you use too much, it can kind of not turn out so good. Just enough to rub it like a marinade, really. And it's like basil and thyme. I'll do fresh garlic and stuff like that. And then basically you just cook it like steak. And you flip it, through. I bake it in the oven, and then flip it halfway through. And the flavor is amazing. That I don't know why it goes good with cheese noodles, but it just does. So that's been something I've been making for a long time. Speaking of Italian, I love Italian food. Yeah, I definitely, don't mind some. I made some really good spinach, mushroom chicken Alfredo. That turned out really great. I make some pretty good sauce. Just some, I'll make a roux with butter, flour, and like this in this instance, I use heavy whipping cream, and just adding some things like a little bit of white pepper and salt, and that just makes a really great. It's like really fresh. I don't mind store bought like that, because I like. I mean, it depends on what's going on, how lazy I need to be about it. But that's one of the things that does taste a lot, really good. Like pretty easy to make, just with fresh cream and whatever. Mix in some Parmesan, then it kind of makes it stick together a little better. Yeah, that's whatever. Really good. Gotta have the garlic bread. Italian. Yeah, it's good. Salmon, fish. Oh man, that's like the one thing I don't eat is any kind of fish. It doesn't bother me. It's just I'm kind of a picky person. I probably eat like a kid, like sandwiches and pasta and but becoming less picky as I get older. So I do like the vegetables, but oh, okay, yeah, shellfish. I know I've heard. So I know how to like they got a rash. They ate a I think it was like a fucking Caesar salad or something because Caesar dressing is made with I believe it's shellfish or some kind of fish and anchovies maybe, and they started breaking out in a rash. And so I was like, well, what did you eat? And oh no, I've never had a Caesar salad before, but I'm allergic to whatever it was. And I was like, well, that dressing's made with fish. Um, yeah. Well, I like steak, well done, like a gross person, like a 5-year-old with a lot of steak sauce. So I could cook good, but I'm still gonna eat just in with my eccentric ways. I can appreciate good food that a normal person wouldn't want it. I'm not gonna make my husband a burnt steak and be like expecting that everybody else will like that because whatever. And then of course I try to make stuff like that little kids like, which is a lot of pasta and sandwiches and nuggets, um, and I mean sometimes it's like, well, that's what I have to get you to eat, whatever. So yeah, lots of fun. I do like to cook. Love the slow cooker. And I love making, I really like when I can tell that my meal has, I don't know, made somebody feel a little better. Like, let's say they, had a bad day, maybe at work, or just like, I give it to my parents. And if it just uplifts people in some way, that kind of makes me happy. I admit I'm a big sucker. I like that. Oh, what's up? Hey, I subscribe to your channel, and it's an honor to have you here because, yeah, I love goth culture, goth and cult and hippie stuff pretty equally. Very fascinated with, the two. Yeah, I'm a vegetarian. I think that, talking about going on a vegetarian diet, whatever works good for people. I know a lot of people have done either that or vegan. Personally, for many years they maybe figured out they weren't getting, I don't really remember what it was, enough protein maybe, I think. And so but like I think they looked into some alternatives to kind of fill the gap with that protein and whatever. But as far as diet goes, and me personally, I'm more about putting in the things in my body to kind of get rid of the junk and whatever, which is probably terrible, but I think that it's more like trying, I do a lot of lemon water, apple cider vinegar to just help the pH of the stomach so it can kind of get rid of all the garbage I feed it. I will care about that kind of stuff. But I think it was really important to incorporate this and make those kinds of changes because, if your pH is way off in your stomach, a lot of those other things don't really matter. Fasting's really good. I think fasting's more important than maybe the specific diet a person follows because it helps build insulin resistance, and that's one of the biggest problems in the Western world. So, fasting and just those antioxidant drinks, prebiotic drinks. Oh, raw garlic that has a range like 15 vitamins and minerals in it. Yeah, pretty crazy, right? And so that's a great way to get a lot out of something that's kind of easy. You know, well, spooky things and being goth. Yeah, I mean it's kind of like I don't know. I mean, I suppose it would be silly to go to the cemetery dressed as like a full blown hippie or a just a somebody, just as it would be silly to sort of go in a bathing suit, like I think I just think it really goes with the mood, especially like if you're at night. No, I mean dressing casually, during the day at cemeteries is very normal. People not as much as they used to, but people still like to picnic at cemeteries and all the like. So it's very social still, and less spooky than whatever. But whatever during the night or going there for um, necromancy purposes is kind of a different story. I think black kind of goes with that. Um, well, hello left hand puppetry. So yeah, what kind of music are you into? I made a recent list. It's probably in my top, maybe like last 3 or 4 videos. So I just did that because people were asking me, and I did a lot of satanic music, highlighted, but just more, I don't know, witchcraft, occult kind of songs, and just threw them into the mix. But and then other people recommended some really good stuff, but just name the top 5 or 6 or something. I like Morbid Angel, great music videos. So it's like talking about that the idea that God is empty, God is just envious and jealous, and Satan, implying Satan would be the better God to choose, or Lucifer, which is very much my opinion. So Morbid Angel really rocks. I mean, they just have a lot of '90s albums. They're all really good, banging whatever. Um, I like Ghost, so I believe they're a Swedish band, right? Ghost. Yeah, you can make fun of it all you want, but I love the lyrics, especially in the older albums, because it is. It's, I mean, it's very satanic, and um, I like Behemoth, of course. Watain, their actual, basically theistic Satanists, and they use real blood at all their concerts. So you're like going to be part of the Black Mass if you really go. And of course, it kind of, it scares away the normal people who don't want to be, part of that. But I wouldn't understand why you'd want to go to that if that wasn't your thing. But I mean, their music videos are great. Huntress, oh, they're not around anymore because the lead singer, she committed suicide. But I think their video, Eight of Swords, it's like talking about the tarot. That's really amazing. There's just a whole bunch that I go through, but those are probably my tops. I like, of course, dissection, old school dissection. Um, oh yeah, okay? So you like cemeteries too? Yeah, I really want to go more often than I do, but yeah, I've been going to cemeteries since I was a kid. I guess that's you're probably your draw there. And spirits, in my experience, they it's when you're at a cemetery. Each one, obviously, even the section has a different energy, but um, it really is like a high energy. It's almost like a moth being attracted to a light, I suppose. It's probably how it feels to us, witches and occultists, because that high energy draws there, of course. And uh, so in my experience, it makes me feel pretty energized. I still ground and stuff, after I come back from a cemetery, but I love the whole experience. But I also like it for the history too, because it's like, all the Greek symbolism that used to be put on, for example, in America, like, um, it was basically the Greek revival. Thomas Jefferson in the early 1800s is like, well, um, trying to give the American identity that this is this new democracy, and as opposed to the loyalist British who are, you know, controlled by the monarchy. So it resulted in these tombstones where you have you know columns carved onto the tombstones that are in Greek style, or a lot of them have urns with like a drape on it. And it's like, well, why would you put an urn symbol be carved into a tombstone? Because a person's not cremated. Cremation was not normal in early America, not popular, but it was in ancient Greece. So it was like, it's a symbol of mourning, of the leftover physical body. And so that symbolism came through to then. And it's I mean, people whose families have been in America a couple hundred years, guarantee you some of that symbolism is going to be on their gravestones. And it's really cool to kind of, it's just like that. I've really attracted that history and stuff like that. The different symbolisms of flowers, and people have the book of life, kind of whatever, or spheres represent, big ass circles, stone. I've seen stone ones, or just they're carved, into headstones, and that's basically supposed to represent the shape of the soul, which is like, you know, formless, basically. So yeah, I think that's all good stuff. I love concerts. I haven't been in a while. Man, I can't wait to go. My husband says that he is going to take me to see Ghost. We ultimately want to see Watain one day, but I mean, I definitely am down to go see Ghost too. He likes I think he likes the sort of upbeat, energy to it. When he doesn't have anything really, fond to say of religion. He just doesn't really care, but I think can appreciate the sentiment. So we're gonna, have a great time. Um, Hail Satan, what's up? I'm gonna smoke some of the devil's lettuce. There you go. So, what I did see. Oh, is it called? It's Pierre Lachaise. I believe is the cemetery talking about in Paris. Wow, you got to actually see that. I mean, it sounds like you've been, been quite the traveler, getting to see concerts and cemeteries. I love everybody's perspective. Really, I'm curious about people because a lot of I would say if I was going to characterize my life, even though of course I have done a lot of neat things, my life has kind of been more. Of course, I had a lot of problems with I had to get over alcoholism and all that, but it's kind of resulted in like now I'm just a normal ass mom. I'm kind of at the home a lot, and that's kind of my um identity. I came from a well off family, but they lost basically they lost all that to drugs, bad decisions. And so as basically we come up whatever um together, it's more like, yeah, I'm just not in a rush. I'm just enjoying that journey. So I guess what I'm saying is I think I'll travel a lot more, go to concerts. Um, as that next stage of my life, which I'm fine with because being at home, I guess a lot, I have a lot of time to observe people. Um, I'm kind of always, I'm able to think about the day more. I'm sure time feels like it goes slower to me because I do have, at least, taking care of people is a full time job, but you could step away and think, like do while doing the dishes, or spend a lot of time with, whatever, listening to music beats or something while I put away laundry. I like those, different tones. And just thinking. It's really a joy to me in that sense. So in my view, in my opinion, my life is already thrilling. So I do love to, but I love to talk to people who go out on adventures. Though it's a lot of fun that way. Um, and everything has its part. Yeah. Right. I think it's not just that, everyone's life is different, but I think that there's different stages of life too, as I mentioned, where one person, might experience, well, in a lifetime, even though they're bad, ideally a person experiences all those stages, to really, complete the book of this life. Um, experience being wealthy and then poor, or being in great health and then, having declining health. Because if a person is able to get their health back, you know, guarantee you they're going to appreciate it more. So that new perspective, just through those different stages and experiences is all very important. And, we're not exactly who we'll be when we're old, or we're not, all those changes that happen with us. I think it's all really interesting. Like each day is a different life. You're different each day due to neurotransmitters and the weather, life events, all that kind of stuff. But at the same time, there's this other part of us that's, eternal and whatever. And in between is just all these other, more subjective parts of us. Yeah. Um, I always find it interesting how I was talking about this really recently, that kids think that time takes forever, right? They literally think that a whole fucking weekend takes forever. They also think 5 minutes takes forever. They're like, I need to eat now. I'm dying, right? Because they feel that way. 5 minutes feels like a long time to a kid. And then it's kind of different for a teenager because, if it's Monday or Tuesday, Friday feels like forever away to them still, right? Or like a couple of hours, that's forever. Like, still. But it's different than being a kid, where it's, 5 minutes is forever. But I think it's like by the time a person is in their 30s, if they're doing, I would think this a same kind of job, and then people have kids, which is I think obviously exhausting. It's just like the same shit every day. So it's not. I think that plays in the perspective of why people will be like, one day they're 27, and the next time they sit down and think, they're like, whoa, I'm 35. How, did that just happen last year? But it's because when the same kind of thing is happening, each day, and then you're playing in factors like exhaustion, all these different parts of life, there's not really that time to sit back and think. And I think that, having that introspection does help time feel a little bit slower, because you're just kind of taking stock of the changes in life. But not everybody not everybody has that luxury, honestly. I mean, some people have to work every fucking day, and they might have several kids, and so that person, in their mind, time is going to fly super fast because they don't subjectively think about it often. So it's really interesting. Wow. Well, I thank you for sharing your story with me. And for chatting with me. I really appreciate it. I can't, can't wait to start our friendship, actually. So I mean, it's just crazy. In my opinion, when I've met people who have had near death experiences, or maybe been, I've met a few people who were in a house fire, but one person didn't make it. So it's like there's just a real openness to people like that. When something like that happens, I do think it opens people up to spirituality, and the real blessing in that is that you're able to think about like what's really important in life, because otherwise there's maybe not really a catalyst to for one to think it's like the same shit every day, but then it's like you realize you set all your clothes out, make all your plans for the next day. It's not something that is guaranteed at all. So that's why you're like, oh, I have to appreciate every day. I mean, which is the real perspective. The illusion is that we have forever. Um, but I think that being able to break break from that illusion, which is pretty common, is like the blessing that one can kind of get out of tragedies, illnesses. Wow. I mean, yeah, I'm so thankful that you made it. Um, I think so. I think in my experience with other people I've talked to, they say they find that purpose. Um, that from almost dying. So there's always this sort of job to do. I suppose in a way I've told myself that really, because like I mean I've really struggled with my identity pretty bad. Not talking about sexual, at least not in my case. But just who am I? And one of the things I really kind of you know I mean, like, kind of figuring out being an adult identity. I was like, well, maybe I could help people with this gift I have, if because I always still found the topic fascinating, even at my, I guess, worst times, really. And I suppose it was just that idea that I could do something with it. Um, and that would be my, purpose, part of that. It's not my whole identity, obviously. Um, I think I've really put myself, together pretty well. I'm still human, whatever. Still have anxious days and all that fun stuff. But I've come a long way from the basically self-harming alcoholic teenage girl that I was. So, yeah, it's definitely dulled my spiritual senses, but I just never forgot all the paranormal events that happened to me as a kid, and that I could still kind of tune into the paranormal, see the dead. And actually, I spent a lot of time in cemeteries while I was trying to heal, and I don't know, did me a lot of good, I would say. Probably don't recommend it for everybody. Yeah, I definitely a big believer in reincarnation, and I think with soulmates, the idea, which is really like, you just know. I think that for some people it is it ends up being like marriage or long term boyfriend girlfriend, um, and it's just different than other relationships. Like, it's just that is um, this sort of connection where it's more like more than really just words. Like, it's like you almost know what the other person's thinking. So there's always those abilities that are unseen, I find, in relationships like that. But it also could be like best friends, with stuff like that. At least in my opinion, with just observing people, a lot of people over the years for lots of different stuff. So, yeah, it. I just I remember my last life. I don't remember before that, so that is an interesting perspective to have. Right? I'll just say that. So, I think most kids do remember their past lives, and then they sort of, they get integrated into school and whatever, and they kind of, they don't really, their parents tell them that's not real, and belief is very powerful. So I think that does maybe shut off connections in the forming mind. But, if you choose to believe that it is real, well, then, as I aged, my memories became stronger, and I was able to slowly understand that that was a little different than ghosts, because that was always like my last life images and memories are more like, kind of come to me as flashes in my mind, usually when I'm not really paying attention, rather than somebody that is appearing to me as like a dead person. So yeah, I definitely, um, just, like I said, I guess it's just a perspective that I have, that I can go around, and I definitely have faith that, um, life is not just exactly the way that we're told it is. I mean, I definitely don't have all the answers, of course, and I wouldn't want them, but I know that there's such a depth to life and that kind of idea. So many cultures believe in reincarnation beliefs more than don't. And that kind of goes along with paganism, and that, the gods are influencing us, demons and spirits. They're just, living in some ways too, um, through us. Uh, it's always hard. It's hard when people, commit suicide, really. Um, yeah, gosh, so one of my sisters, she has she had a friend that she knew for maybe like 6 years, internet kind of a friend. But my sister is very personal, and so she only has like a handful of friends like that. And they were pretty close. There's nobody she ever dated, but just really super close. Always made time to keep in contact with each other, especially over like video chat platforms. But so eventually, um, she got something in the mail, I believe, from the other, another friend in this group, and it was this guy's. He committed suicide, but he left a note in a note saying, basically, send this to my sister. It was basically a sub letter thanking her for, being there for him and just being really nice to him when I guess he had problems with bullying and, other, subsequent mental problems. But and it's just like it has affected her for years, because it happened probably a few years ago. It seriously has affected her. It's just crazy that, that's just how human emotions are sometimes. You can't just say, oh, it's just this one little thing, and so it doesn't have this effect. But human emotion is just pretty complex. I mean, it comes down to, in my opinion, um, simple kinds of, needs by humans. But it's just, I think when people say, oh, that doesn't make me sad and stuff, it's not quite true. There's some kind of emotional attachment, but well, as far as with gifts, I mean, yeah, I've had people ask me, they say, I don't like being this way. How can I shut, my gift off, whatever psychic ability? Because I've talked to a range of people. And so I'm like, uh, it's probably like that for a reason. And it's much better to consider balancing your own energy, learning about yourself and just, focusing on making this part of yourself inaccessible. It's like, because at least for me, I would have definitely, if my life would be a lot different if I didn't, when I was a kid, ghosts appeared to me all the time. Um, and they would sometimes be, normal looking, but other times it would be smell decomposing, look that way, be bleeding, look other fucked up ways. Maybe have no eyes in the eye socket, but just various different ways, various different stages of death, decay. So, it fucking, um, I mean, thought it was normal until I talked to some other people as I got older. But rather than, just shut that off forever, right? I've slowly become really fascinated in, human body, human health. I've learned, a lot. I've been to several autopsies basically while studying anthropology. So I suppose that as time went on, instead of being scared, I became more interested. And I just think of people as people, ghosts as ghosts, that no matter the whatever the stage of death or decay, um, that's happening for some kind of whatever is attaching in the physical plane. So it's just kind of representing their suffering in the physical plane, which, I mean, mostly has to do with their emotions. It's just the way that they're manifesting. And so this is just it's another expression of human pain. And like it's just that's how I view it. And I guess so it's like, if you can't get rid of it, then just kind of accept it. Except I really would say I learn how to balance my own energy. um I can't, like, I'm not open all the time to the dead. I shut off when I go to bed. I want to be left alone while I'm asleep, you know like all that kind of good stuff that's normal. So creating those boundaries is important. Grounding, taking time away from the occult, are all things that really help me have a great place for this in my life. Yeah, so you think that, yeah, grown-ups kind of deny? Yeah, I just think that it's so not just like paranormal, but it's like there's this one sort of, I don't know if you want to call it American really, but it's from more like a Western world viewpoint. This is the way it is, and that's it. It's like, how many people believe that, or actually question things? And I think that it does, like we talked about, take a near-death experience or maybe a psychedelic experience, whatever disassociative episode a person has, for them to question things. You know what I mean? It's what people need to evolve. It's just that you can't make that happen for somebody. They have to have that set event kind of happen. Um, how do you? Well, how does one overcome dealing with fear when strange things happen in a home? So I'm gonna answer that, and then I'm not really gonna pray right now. Like, not in my ritual kind of mindset. So some other time that would be a lot of fun. Um, yeah, but so my friend is saying, how do you deal with fear when strange things happen at home, like objects moving or a sense of being watched? Objects moving hasn't happened to me in quite a long time. Well, I mean, at least watching them, I've heard a lot of strange noises that especially happen after rituals and stuff, but it's usually pretty. It's like energy dispersing. But when I was a kid, and I'd be like walking by and glass just go flying across the fucking shelf, shatter into the wall. It is fucking scary, really. Because I think that, no matter what, it's just, you're going to trigger adrenaline, because that's how people are made, and um, like I guess that as time goes on, like if you have a haunted house experience, you do kind of get used to it. Because even as a kid, I remember with so much of it going on that there was a kind of a point where it was like it would still scare the fuck out of me when I would like watch the closet because it was made of these really old wood doors. Watch it open, but at the same time, like I remember it scaring me, but not like just that, triggering my adrenaline so bad, basically, like scaring the fuck out of me, making my, arm stand on the hair on my arm stand on that kind of idea. So I did get used to it in that sense, but sense of being watched is more like, even though people kind of dismiss this one a lot, I don't as much because I think that's sort of an instinctual deal. I mean, you can imagine that somebody's watching you, right? We can all be tired and whatever. But I think that really, if you really feel like somebody's watching you, most of the time that it's true. And so a lot of that has to do with that's how, spirits approach your energy, right? It's where you're the least guarded. You're not facing behind you. So that's when the dead ask me for help when I'm open now, I'll experience it that way where they'll come up behind me and maybe um, talk to me, start that dialogue that translates into my mind, imagining that on the astral plane. But I feel that energy come up behind me, and it's very distinctive. I just don't think that people are. I don't know how to explain it. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. But if somebody's watching you, it probably is true because it's just so different than people who blow it off say that you're just tired or imagining things. So, but yeah, with if you are having a haunted house experience like that, and you feel like you're being watched, you probably are, and it's most likely happening at night when, in my opinion, when we are asleep, we are not in our bodies. We are on our consciousness is on the astral plane. That is why the dead will come and get in people's beds, touch them, whisper in their ear, because they're getting energy off of living people that way. And so, I mean, some people wake up to this happening, but it's because we're not in our body, so our body is kind of like open, and they're going to be able to utilize some of that energy, and then they attach to you, but that's just kind of how that is. So I guess what I'm saying is the first thing is I would start doing grounding and stuff, and kind of some meditation, because I would start a ritual like before bed that would be like, you know this is, and announce it out loud. I'm going to sleep. This is my body. You are not allowed to be in my body. Establish boundaries. And it might take a while for this to work because it needs to be repeated. Because, I mean, uh, a subjective, like a conscious dead person who's already attached to you is pretty strong. But stuff like this will work. Cleansing the space in a home. Sometimes stagnant energy can sort of basically leave like a vortex open where you could be getting spirits just kind of coming and going. And so those things really do help a lot. And just, I mean, uh, it's especially important to follow good bedtime, rules if you're having that kind of problem, because, it's like no crazy TV shit before bed. You got to relax. I mean, I don't know, turn on some white noise, because the more calm you are, and that with that, you're putting out that high vibration, and it's going to clean your space. It's going to protect you more. And yeah, that it's basically what I've done. But yeah, that's why people. I mean, basically, I've seen it, and I'm sure a lot of you have heard of this idea as well. Are explain that they wake up and somebody was there, somebody touched their feet, somebody got in bed with them, because they're like taking your energy, attaching to you. Yeah. But at the same time, what I do is I draw off of them if I move them on and such. So kind of can work both ways. I wouldn't recommend that. Well, Santa's my new friend. I hope I'm saying your name right, because I don't fucking know. I'm sorry, but thanks for the great chat, and I really hope you have a rocking time at the cemetery, and enjoy the history, the vibes, and the spirits, of course, and lots of great energy to you. And I love going to and visiting my grandparents and ancestors. And hey, you've got great advice about being friendly. What am I? Um, so anyway, I guess I'll go through. I think I'll be on like 10 more minutes as well. I gotta go do normal life stuff. Necrophilia? No, I do not would not do that, because in my view, even though I'm a Luciferian, when I go to cemeteries and people are lost, like let's say I could tell they're confused about either being dead or where they are and whatever, I don't say, introduce them to Satan or other gods, death demons. I just try to have that human connection and move them on, because I'm not, trying to impose myself on people in any way, actually. So I think that necrophilia is pretty disrespectful of the dead. I can only imagine what kind of haunting one might experience. Not just, I'm not talking just like mentally either. I mean, I really imagine they would, you know, it wouldn't be very good. They would want to get revenge eventually. So no, that's not my thing. Necromancy, which is talking with the dead, is what I, definitely a practice I have. So, because I really enjoy the company of dead people and ghosts. I think of them as friends. I mean, I'm not just like open to whoever, but I'm also, I'm also, I also, it's an important part of my life. Like, I would probably be lonely without ghosts altogether, dead people. I don't keep them attached to me or anything. I just enjoy the experience. Some people, some ghosts will want to attach to me for a few days or something like that, and I mean, that's fine with me. I let that kind of experience happen. Like call that friends, and then eventually I'll move them on. But I'm a very respectful necromancer. I know it's a taboo subject anyway. However, my goal is protecting and helping the dead. I mean, which often goes along with the same goals, helping the living by perhaps delivering a message. That kind of idea. But that is my priority. I want to put out the information they're telling me and explain my visions, and help them move on. Because yeah, in my opinion, it is like they're the dead that are confused about being dead, or they try to stay with their bodies because they're you know you just feel bad for them, really. And that would be what I'd say is a good amount of what I view as the whole purpose of all this, or my ability. um yeah, that's really rewarding personally. So you having well, yeah, so it's like I experienced that too, where when I was like younger, be like 2 days of just constant paranormal activity, and then nothing for like week and a half. I think that kind of has to do with it takes a good a deal of energy for um, entities to really even do anything on the physical plane. But a lot of it also goes into I find that in those kinds of situations, because I've been to a lot of haunted houses, ghosts hide in the where people don't go that much, the back walk-in closet, an attic, a basement, unused guest room, etc. And they think about their lives, whatever's binding them there. So if it's something fucked up, um, you know, it, and that's what they're experiencing. Let's say alone in your closet for a few days, so you're not having that kind of experience, because they're just able to have their time in their space alone, and then eventually they, I mean, they have all kinds of attitudes as well. I've also really personally experienced the attitude of like when people will ignore the paranormal, then it happens. It's like, it's like I'm still here. Because people, I mean, ghosts have a range of, motives and personalities, just like living people. So it's like, if you want to email me further details about your backstory, that'd be cool. I got about 5 more minutes and then I gotta go, which is fine. And I'll be back next month. Hey, what's going on? Yeah, so I'd love to hear your story, honestly. Yeah, I mean, is there? I guess what I've always wanted to know is, is what is the way I describe the dead, and some of the stuff makes sense to anybody else out there. It's kind of like I'm just putting out my crazy thoughts and experience, and just what I think. Like I said, I've done paranormal investigations, profiled missing people with my ability. So it's really, that feedback, well, it just kind of helps me gauge myself, I would say. Yeah, so, like, especially if it's been going on for years, it can definitely be a property too. If it's just kind of like, I don't know, like I said, it's probably a combination of that. If it's like a property, you probably have a conscious dead person who spends a lot of time alone in a space away from the rest of, the occupied house, and they're attached to the property. I mean, that I have definitely experienced that a lot. And so maybe they've been there fucking 150 years or something. So they don't really have to do something every day, but it's just more like they, when they, kind of like I said, come back into the main area of the house, or they need some energy, then, I mean, if it's somewhere you've been for years, most likely they're getting energy from you. But I mean, like my friend Sinez is saying, it's not okay. We're talking about like, does that seem creepy the way I describe it? Yeah. But you know what? We feed off of each other's energy anyways, people. Every time you have a fucking conversation with people, there's an energy exchange. So it's like, a lot of ghosts are just normal people. Like, that's kind of what it comes down to, is they're here for some reason, and it's not super fucked up, right? It's like this might be some fucking old person who likes to sit and imagine, remember smoking in life, right? And is that really, bothering you? Not really. It's not really harming you to have them draw a little bit of energy from you. As long as that's, each person in each case is different. If it's excessive, it's a problem. But I'm just saying that it's not like automatically, wow, that's absolutely terrible, because that's how living is. But it's like, yeah, there's always that exchange. Is selling your soul a thing? Well, it is an interesting topic. One of my favorite, to be real. I like Faust a lot. So, yeah. The Portrait of Dorian Gray, which is also kind of, selling your soul-ish, because he's immortal for, his portrait, through his portrait. And then Faust is like, he makes a deal with Mephistopheles, the devil's, basically the demon sent by Satan to, he gives Faust whatever he wants, which is earthly pleasures and knowledge and all these other, being able to impress everybody with basically his occult magic. And in exchange, Mephistopheles actually he doesn't want pleasure or riches. He wants to experience, because the actual quote is dark and beautiful, but he's like, I want to experience all the fucked up shit that is humans. So, the high of the highs and the low of the lows. That's what I want. So Mephistopheles says, okay, you count my soul and whatever. And he takes, basically, because Faust is he's like this sort of genius. And he decides one day that he knows everything, except now he's actually going to commit suicide. He's like, there's nothing left to learn. And he goes, well, except I seek knowledge that's outside of the senses, that's beyond mortal, not accessible. And that's when he makes the deal with Mephistopheles. I love Faust. And Robert Johnson. So he's like a early African-American jazz blues kind of a guy. And the legend with him is he sold his soul at the crossroads for, to make really great music. And I like that kind of stuff. I don't, as far as selling your soul, like for real, like, through a ritual, I don't really think so. I think that, I think I think it's kind of like glamorized, but I think that really demons and angels and gods really want acknowledgement, offerings. But to actually have like your soul, I think that it's just probably not really a possibility, because it's like, a soul isn't, I don't think it's something that one can really sell. I think it's just your ego is your own subjective experience that is subjected to reincarnation and all that good stuff. But, yeah, I think the concept's interesting. I did a blasphemy ceremony back when I first really got into Satanism, and fuck, it's awesome, it's attractive and whatever. A lot of people, they freak out at that point. Don't push, my opinion, don't push yourself. Don't do something you're not ready for. For me, it was just sigils, and I wrote like a prayer or a poem. I'll fucking see if I can find it. And denouncing the Christian God, and that I want, announcing that, Lucifer is the true God of light. And yeah, I'll have to look for that. That's really something that I might still have somewhere, like I said. But yeah, I did that. I wanted to have that experience. And for me, it's pretty easy because I was already pagan anyway. But for a lot of people who are either new to that or they're not, really into rituals, I don't think you can just jump into that mindset. Yeah. Okay, so how you want to find my email? Okay, anyway, before I sort of wrap things up here, my email, you can look at probably any of my videos, I have include that, but it's whichwayinbox@hotmail.com. So, and just find one of my videos, and I usually put that in the first line of whatever I say. And then, yeah, whatever, we can talk that way. So, awesome. Yeah, Belial, if you're trying to work with the Goetia, I really would say, I was talking to my friend about this too. a woman. She wants to um, incorporate demons into like healing for her really sick kids. So, she's like, how can I be safe? How do I open myself up to this? And I was like, well, you do practice drawing sigils. And she's like, no, not really, not that much. I think that doing meditation and drawing sigils and like draw a sigil 20 fucking times. I mean, pick a spirit that you're attracted to, a demon, and draw their sigil over and over again. Listen to their end chants. So let's say you want to do, work with Belial end chant, and it will come up in YouTube pretty easy. Do that kind of stuff because that really is hypnotic to your mind. If you listen to a chant repeated or you repeat it yourself, and you're able to meditate, that will really work. Sigils are great because they're a literal. You're creating a physical, basically opening, tie to the physical world, and so that's great. I mean, put that kind of. I put my altar and ritual stuff away when I'm done with it, but yeah, that really should work. You gotta be practicing that kind of stuff, and I believe it would be much more effective. And hey, let me know how that works out for you. Especially stories. What am I talking about? Robert Johnson, The Story of Faust, or Portrait of Dorian Gray. They're all stories about selling one's soul, especially Faust. If you haven't read it, oh my gosh, read it. You'd probably be in love for a few days here with this old school classic. Dante's Inferno, talking about the different levels of hell, but it's more like a Buddhist hell, really, where it's like whatever your attachment is what's going to tie you to whatever the hell, but like through the physical plane. Oh yeah, well, I guess being very separate from things, and really with the do something like the lesser banishing ritual, the pentagram. So before you kind of do a ritual, do like an opening ritual and then like a closing ritual where you put your cold shit away. It does make it so it's usually a lot more effective because you're not having stagnant energy affecting that. And yeah. Hey, you're welcome. Thanks for stopping by. But as far as with cemeteries, I mean, start with something simple if you're new to necromancy, like collecting a little dirt. And it, instead of like, whatever. It has to be somebody specific. Think of, let's say that you want to work on healing. Get a little bit of dirt, earth from a doctor's grave, right? It doesn't have to be somebody in particular, but the idea is that physical connection, which is really a lot of that. So, start, don't just go hardcore ritual, but like give yourself that time to develop really. And like I said, kind of keep your especially like that, keep your ritual stuff very separate. Yeah, anyway, yeah, you guys send me emails. Will you send me the link of the movie you're suggesting? Because that would be a really great way. That way I won't forget. I will do a live stream next month. And then, yeah, I like a lot of different beliefs. Buddhism, paganism, like psychology, very fascinating. So I take I take a lot from different ideas. Oh yeah, Homer, the Odyssey. For Homer's Odyssey is the first. It's like fucking 10,000 years old or something. It's the first reference of necromancy. So when humans first started to write, everybody, they wrote about necromancy. Like because it's like he has to go through, hell, Hades, and then he performs all these rituals and offerings, and obviously he's communicating with the dead. So yeah, I think it's very instinctual to man. That would be my opinion. I would love to go live more often. So I do every month. I do a live stream. I'll try to get on a little bit earlier next time stuff. But anyway, I'm gonna fucking head out. So if you guys want to email me, check out my videos, and I'll just whichwayinbox@hotmail.com. If you have something to say, I will get back to you when I can. So I have a pretty busy life, but it's always cool smoking a bowl, talking tarot, talking occult with everybody here. And I can't wait to talk to you guys again next month. So I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.